Have you ever been on a plane before? How about spending 371 hours and 11 minutes in an airplane? Well, that's how long the 8 pilots, or the 8 crew members that flew in the first flight around the world, that's how long they spent in their plane. Most travelers like us spend roughly 3 to 6 hours on an average flight. So spending 175 days, 371 hours, and 11 minutes in a plane is ridiculous. I've done a lot of research about the first flight around the world, reading several articles and even a book. And the first flight around the world by the 8 U.S. Army Air Service members was a statement that had a major impact on the world. Today I'll tell you about what happened in the first flight around the world, and second, the impacts from the first flight around the world. So the best place to start is what happened, so let's jump into it. On April 6, 1924, 4 planes left Seattle, Washington, and started their journey around the world. They made multiple stops along the way, and eventually, after many days, they made it back to Seattle, Washington. According to First Flight Centennial, four planes called the Seattle, the New Orleans, Chicago, and Boston were flown by 4 pilots, and the planes were made by Douglas Aircraft Company, and that's one of the planes. According to NPS.gov, the pilots on each plane also had a mechanic to go along as their company and to make sure there's no mechanical errors along the way. And the pilots were Eric Nelson, Lee Wade, Lowell Smith, and Frederick Martin. And then the mechanics were John Harding, Henry Ogden, Leslie Arnold, and Alva Harvey. And the planes the planes used in the first flight around the world were made to withstand very harsh conditions, and they definitely needed it along the way because they went through strong winds, a lot of ice, a lot of rain, nothing fun to fly in. So the Delta flights that we take nowadays, they're a lot bigger planes, a lot more comfortable, and they're a lot safer than the planes that were used in the first flight around the world. So Douglas War Cruisers, which is that plane, had 3 seats, 1 single engine, so they were small and stops were necessary. The planes had a 644-gallon fuel tank, and stops were made in Japan, Southeast Asia, India, England, and Ireland. The planes also were equipped with wheels and pontoons, which are seen right here. You got wheels and pontoons so they can land on water or land. So now that you know a little bit about the first flight around the world and the planes themselves, let's look at what happened, or let's look at the effects from the first flight around the world. So the flight was globally known. All over the world, countries were trying to do the exact same thing and fly around the world and get the achievement that they did it. And along the way, there were the planes themselves had a major impact on aviation technology, and other militaries wanted to catch up with the U.S. and create a plane that could fly around the world. And along the way, they were in, again, bad flying conditions. So the engineers and military, they got good feedback on what the plane can withstand and what can't. And according to the National Air and Space Museum, pilots experienced woolies, which were downward winds that would rush down the mountainside and could be up to 75 miles an hour. And one of the pilots, Lee Wade, actually said the hop from Sitka to Seaward was to prove worse than anything we had experienced so far. And along through that area, the plane Seattle actually crashed, but both the pilot and the mechanic both survived, luckily. And the world viewed this achievement as remarkable. It proved the U.S. Air Service, it proved that they were elite. And since the U.S. completed first, they won the race. And dominance dominance was proved by the U.S. According to Tim Grove in his book, First Flight Around the World, the adventurers who won the race, Great Britain, Portugal, France, Italy, and Argentina all had the same goal of flying around the world and completing it first. So their air force, was trying to catch up to the U.S. and do the same thing that the U.S. did. So whenever the U.S. finished it and completed it, it proved their dominance, and it proved that they were the ones to beat. In summary, the first flight around the world by the 8 U.S. Army Air Service members was a statement and had a major impact on the world. In this speech, we talked about what happened in the first flight around the world and the effects from the first flight around the world. So the next time you fly in a plane, think about spending 175 days, 371 hours, and 11 minutes in an airplane.